So in this video, I will show you step by step how to properly save and submit your projects in this class. It's really important that you follow these steps every time you save and submit anything in this class so that I have all the materials or all the assets that are used inside of your Ableton Live project. Otherwise, I won't be able to properly open and view and give you feedback of your progress in this class. So make sure you follow these steps so that we can all work together on this. So the first thing is to save it into a location that you can find it. And this works just like any other program on your computer. So I'm going to first go to File in my Ableton Live set here, go to Save Live Set As, and the only difference between Save Live Set and Save Live Set As is that with Save Live Set As I can specify the location and the name again of where the project is going to be saved to. If I just go to Save Live Set As, if I'd already saved the project, it's going to save the project to wherever that location is, and it's going to default to the last location that I saved anything in Ableton Live. So I'm not necessarily going to be sure where that is. So I like to go to Save Live Set As. That way I can respecify this and give it a new name if that's necessary. So here we can already see an example of Ableton is taking me to my computer's download folders, submissions. It's going into these places that I would probably not think of to look for my project ever again. So in this case, I'm going to go to desktop. This is a place where it's really easy for me to find things. And I'm going to save this as my last name space dash project dash 1, and I'll probably give it a version number because I'm still in progress, I'm still working on this. I want to keep track of things. If this was a larger project and I was going to be working on it for a long time, I would probably do something like project dash 1 version, the year 2015, the month April, the date 18th, then a dot 1 if I was going to keep working on this for the rest of the day. I would, dot 2, dot 3, dot 4, dot 5. And this is just a simple naming system that's going to enable me to keep track of what version this is, so on and so forth. So let's leave it at just project-1 version 1. And now I'm going to save it just by clicking on the Save button. And now let's go look at that folder and file on my desktop. So tab over to Finder, Command N, open up a new Finder window. Let's go to my desktop. Then here we can see Dahan project, and then there's the .als file, Dahan project version 1. And remember that this .als file isn't actually everything that our project is using. So this is just a list of file directories, a list of commands, a list of options that we had selected inside of Ableton. So all this really is telling Ableton how to recreate this Ableton Live set here, both the arrangement and the session view, all the parameters that we had set with our devices or instruments, that these are all just the values of our Ableton Live set and the location. So it's going to remember that this audio file that I used here in my simpler of where Ableton got that file from. And so it's going to be a list of values as well as file directories, as well as where to organize things in the arrangement view or the session view, whatever automations I might have done. It's going to have all of that information embedded in it, but what it's not going to have is any of the external assets, so audio files or video files that are used inside of my project here. And so that's why it's important that I collect all and save. That way I can bring all of that into the project. So let's jump back, take a look at that folder one more time. You can see that here's my project folder. Inside of that project folder, we've just got an Ableton project info as well as it .als file. So we don't see any audio files of any kind in here. And that should be an instant red flag in your head of like, there's something missing from this project. If I take it to any other computer than this computer, I'm going to lose all the files, or I'm not going to have all the files that are being used in my project. So I'm going to go back to Ableton, go back to File, collect all and save. And this is going to ask me a few questions. It's going to ask me to specify which used media files are to be copied into the project. So it's going to bring them from wherever they are. It's going to generate a copy of that file, and it's going to bring it into the new project folder that we've created. So files from elsewhere. Yep, anything else that I'm using inside of my project that's from elsewhere. Files from other project, if I'm using instruments or audio files that I used in other projects, so I want to bring those along as well. Files from user library, anything that I had pre-built myself, some um, samples or presets or things like that? Do I want to import those? And then files from factory packs. Do I want to bring along my string sounds or things like that? And each of these we'll talk about, especially factory packs in greater detail later on. But the huge kicker here is you want to say yes to everything. That way you're always making sure that Ableton is packaging everything that you're using inside of that project folder, so it's always there if you need it. As a side note, if you are working on your home computer and this is just your own personal stuff, you're not worried about taking this elsewhere, it's okay to not always do this collect all and save thing, because as it says, it's going to copy all these files into the project folder. So this means that if you've got 1,000 projects and they're all using the same samples, that if you always do this collect all and save with all 1,000 of those projects, it's going to generate 1,000 copies of those audio files. And this can start to take up a ton of space on your computer, just to have 1,000 copies of one audio file. So this isn't necessarily something that you have to go through every time you are saving a project, but it's something you should be doing every time you're about to share this with others. So in the case of this class, it's really important that you do that within this class. So I'm going to click OK. Ableton's going to think for a hot minute about its existence and what it needs to recreate itself anywhere else other than this computer. And now it's finished. We can tab back over to the Finder window. And now if we look inside of that same My Project folder here, we can see we've got a new folder inside of that called Samples. We've got imported and processed. Here's all of my drum sounds and things like that, all the samples that I was using, as well as any samples that I might have processed in some way. And so here's one that got cropped. So here's all the samples that I need inside of my project. So now this project folder here on my desktop contains everything, or all the assets, that my Ableton Live set needs to be recreated on anybody else's computer. It will never give me an error message saying that something is missing, or at least it shouldn't. So now that's what I'm gonna compress that file so that I can upload that. So often Canvas in particular doesn't like to upload folders. So to upload a folder, which is what this project is, a folder is a place that contains multiple other assets on our computer. So we need to turn that into a zip folder so that it can be treated as a file and uploaded to services like Canvas that only take files. So if I hold my control key or right click on the folder here, I'll get a contextual menu, and I can come down to the compress Dihan project folder, and this is going to turn it into a zip. It'll process it for a second, and there we've got now the Dihan-project zipped. That is a single file that contains everything that was in here, but now into a zipped folder. And now this is what I would then take and upload to Canvas, this Dihan-project.zip. A lot of times students will make the mistake of coming into this project folder and just compressing this .als file, and that's going to give me an issue in that when I open up your projects, I'm not going to have these samples included in that, because again, that's just those values and file directories. So always compress or zip the entire project folder, not the ILS, the entire project folder, and then submit that to Canvas. So let's run through that one more time just to make sure you got it. Go to File, Save Live Set As, specify where you're saving it to, then go to File, Collect All and Save, say yes to everything, it will think, then go to that file, control click on it, compress, and then upload that .zip file to Canvas. So I hope that clarifies some things. Let me know if you guys have any questions.